Survivor 46 is here, and so is On Fire, the only official Survivor podcast, and we have a twist this season. The winner of Survivor 45, Dee Valladares, will be joining us every week.
We're going behind the scenes of the biggest moments, the how and the why things happen, and the strategy and analysis you can only get from someone like me, a Survivor winner.
Listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, wherever you get your podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Hello and welcome to the emergency edition of the Voices of the Vic. I really didn't think we'll be doing this so soon into the season. I didn't think we'd be doing it. Well, I was hoping for him to be given time this season. So was Mike, so was probably Pidge. Every other Watford fan, we wanted Rob Edwards to stay the season. But 11 games in, and Watford have sacked head coach Rob Edwards and his assistant manager Richie Cly after 11 games in charge. Rob Edwards won 3 games of his 10 championship games in charge of Watford, drawing 5 and losing twice. Obviously lost to MK Dons during the Carabao Cup as well. But this has really rattled the Watford fan base, and it's really pissed me off. It's pissed Mike off. It's pissed Pidge off. It's pissed so many people off who were maybe not so pozzo out until today. Watford fans have had enough. This is diabolical. Our football club is being run as a circus at the moment, and Gino Pozzo is a clown. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm pissed off. Mike, where were you today when the news broke of Rob Edwards getting sacked?
Well, it was actually a good self that alerted me to it, Ben. We're in a group chat with a couple of other Watford fans, and you sent the screenshot that WD18 had put out saying that the Telegraph had reported that Edwards was sacked. And I was on my lunch in the van at work, and I was the same as you. I thought, surely not. Like, we discussed this with Jacob on the last podcast for the I can't remember what game it was now. I think it was a Sunderland game, and Jacob said if they're going to pull the trigger, it's going to be in the international break. But we were like, no, they're going to give him time. I mean, I've got the statement on my phone here outlining that they wanted to sort of give him time and everything. So I'm just in complete shock. And usually my phone's been going mad today. Texts from other football fans like, Watford are shambles. Usually I'm the first to be like, well, hang on, you don't know how we operate. We do things like this, we do things like that. Everything they've said, every criticism they've said to me, I've agreed with them, because they've gone back on their promise, Ben. What happened to giving Rob time? He's just jumped up from League Two. Things weren't going to be rosy. Let him ride out a bad run, not sack him at the first bad run he hits. So it's gone back and promises. That's it, simple as.
And sorry, I jumped straight into a rant when I was doing the intro. I didn't even introduce our guest, and I do apologise, Pidge. We've got Pidge here from the TaylorMade Army TV podcast, and it's been an honour to get you on, mate. We appreciate your work, and you've been supporting us as well, so really appreciate it. But Pidge, tell me how fuming you are with this announcement today from Watford. Well, Gino Pozzo has came out with a statement.
Yeah. Firstly, I said this before we went live. It's an honour and a privilege for you to even ask me to come on, boys. So thank you very much. It's lies again from the club, especially from the owners in Duxbury, and we all said, okay, let's see what they do. Young up and coming coach. We had to poach him, shall we say, pay compensation for Rob. Ambitious as well. We wanted us to get promoted. We've all been critical, including myself, about the performances. And we said various times, we've been my pod, your pod, loads of other podcasts that we've got to give the guy time. We've got to let him implement his ideas, raise the culture of the club, because it was absolutely shocking last season. The whole atmosphere seemed to be a little bit more more improved. And okay, the performances haven't been great, but if you're investing in a long-term project, you've got to be patient. You've got to give him time. And all the sounds coming out of the club was they were going to put faith in Rob and his coaching team. And clearly, it was a load of rubbish. And we're back to square one once again. And it's gone the days, and we always say we don't look back on the past, but gone the days of the likes of when GT was there and we built the club and we allowed managers, not just him, allowed managers to be brave enough to bring in young players and work and sort of work the system that he wants and build from the back, so to speak. And it's, like I say, with Bilić, looking at Bilić, great appointment, but, why did we go through all that just to get Robin? Why couldn't we just got Bilić in at the start?
Exactly, because he is a free agent as well. So if Gino really wanted him, why didn't he get Bilić in the summer? Why poach Rob Edwards from Forest Green Rovers, where, if I'm honest, I feel so sorry for Rob Edwards. He doesn't deserve to be treated like this. He did fantastic at Forest Green Rovers, won the League Two title. He could have done a really good job with them in League One. Yes, other teams could have sniffed around and pinched him, but he got shat on by Watford Football Club. And it's not the first time we've shat on the manager or players. It's a joke how this football club is being run. And like you say as well, it's just lies and lies we're being fed all the time. We thought things would change. I know me and Mike have been with Scott Duxbury. We thought maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll give him one last go. We'll see how he is. But he's lied, and I know he's not the one in charge of a football club, but he is Gino Pozzo's puppet, isn't he, Mike? He's being fed all these lies. And yes, maybe Scott Duxbury, he wanted Rob Edwards in, but at the end of the day, Gino Pozzo has a lot to ask for here.
Yeah, I think this appointment of Rob Edwards in the first place was very much Duxbury's appointment as opposed to Gino's. I'm not saying this as if I know something. I don't proclaim to know anything in the background or anything, but it strikes me that Rob was Scott's man all along, and Gino, whether he fancied it or not, I don't know. The thing that was said in June was that Watford needed its culture back, and in Rob Edwards, we have appointed a manager we all totally believe in, and a manager who will lead and drive that change. So whether Gino Pozzo thought that was the case as well, I don't know. If I'm Scott Duxbury, he's got a lot of stick recently, like in the last few years. But if I'm Scott Duxbury now, after this, today, I'd walk. Because regardless of if he's done a shit job himself, Scott Duxbury, over the last few years, Gino Pozzo's basically stuck two fingers up at him doing this. Basically, I know he runs the club, Gino Pozzo. He's well within his right to do it. He's the most powerful man at the club. But he's just got his boss hasn't backed him up. And it's just made Scott look stupid. I think if we'd have appointed Bilić at the start of the season, I think it would have been a brilliant appointment. He's got promoted, his managerial record, he's quite good on the whole. He's done some impressive things. So, and he's recently won promotion to the Premier League with West Brom a few years back. So, he's not a bad manager to bring in, but it's a whole fact of going through it over and over again. Like, one thing that's been telling for me is I've been on numerous opposition podcasts so far, and each and every one of them are like, are you going to stick with him? Are you going to stick with him? If you go back and watch them now, I'm like, every time I said, yeah, we are. We've been told by the owners that we're going to stick with him. We're going to give him time. I've said that Rob's going to come across a bit of a sticky run at times. It's what will happen in the Championship. But the first international break we get, which is when Pozzo's love to pull that trigger, and he's gone and done it. I mean, I don't know what happens if Bilić has a bad run. Like, is he going to be gone? Are we going to go through three managers a season again like we did last season? Like, when will it end? When will it end? Something has to change.
Sticky bad run of form, and he could be gone by the World Cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
I give him 2 months. Rob Edwards has had 2 months. But it's with Rob Edwards, he just wasn't given time. Like Pidge, you said, okay, performances weren't great, but me and Mike thought in the last couple of games, well, the last game against Sunderland, we had that spell just after that second half for about 20 minutes, and I thought, okay, maybe this is his ideas slowly coming across to the field, and it's been implemented. The players are getting it, and this could be a bit exciting to watch for the rest of the season. But that's just been pulled the plug on, and it's like he's not the problem, Rob Edwards. The board never backed him. They never signed players that he actually needed for his system. We all know he plays 3-5-2. He needs flying wing backs who cross the ball into the box. It wasn't delivered with that. So the problem's not Rob Edwards. The problem is the board and Gino Pozzo.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. You've hit the nail on the head, both of you. And you're looking at the likes of Gasper coming in. He's a right back. He's not a right wing back. He's not a Janmat who can run up and down the line. And to be honest, Kiko as well. But we knew Kiko was probably going to go after we got relegated. And yeah, it just the system. It looks so uneven. We said this before that you look at the balance. There's no balance in the squad. The way he wants to play, and like you said, you've got to supplement. We know they must have done the homework on Rob. They know exactly what formation he wants to use, how he wants to play. He doesn't play 5-3-2. He plays 3-4-3. That's how he likes to play. He likes to use those wingers, technically as wing backs when we haven't got the ball, but he likes to play on the front foot. And he's. Okay, the signings that we brought in have just not been fit enough yet, and they've just literally last few games made their way into the side. So, it's the way they come out with the statement saying they gave him 10 games. I mean, it's like saying, we've judged the player now. He's come on 10 minutes to go before the end of the game. We've judged him now, and I don't think he's good enough. It's the same sort of mentality. You can't judge a manager after 10 games. He should at least minimum 15 to 20 games before you have any type of opinion on how he plays, because like I said, we've had 3 or 4 players. We've still got Loser come back. We've had 3 or 4 players that have either signed and not been fit. Davis has only played 1 or 2 games, so we haven't seen the best of him as yet. Halls has only just got into the side, so he's hasn't had really much to deal with in terms of working his shape up. And Gakia, he's had a bit of bad luck in Gakia. He's obviously been rushed in too quickly. All intents and purposes, we saw at Birmingham. So, yeah, well, it'll be intriguing to see what Bilić does, starting with Stoke Sunday. But I'd love to be positive about this, but it's just at the moment it's just too fresh with the fact that Rob's gone. But come Saturday, Sunday, I'll be buzzing and hoping that we win on Sunday. So yeah, it's tricky at the moment.
Just tough being a Watford fan. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Like, we love this little club and we'll support it through thick and thin, but it gets to a time where enough's enough and fans aren't going to take any more of this shit, which we have put up with since the FA Cup final, isn't it, really? The underinvested squad, underinvested defence, the leak in defence. I think we said last week, Mike, how much they spent on the defence since the Pozzo's been here? £12 million on centre-backs when they've spent £500 million altogether on transfers. It's just a joke how that's been underinvested. Mikey Byatt hanging around every match day, hanging off Pozzo's arms. It's just an absolute joke. And to top up what happened today as well, to put the cherry on the top, on an excellent article from Andrew French, when he announced that Rob Edwards has been sacked, he said that one gentleman does stay, and that's Cristiano Giuretta. Mike, that's just... I have no words.
It's because it's come from Mr. Pozzo himself. Like, he's Pozzo's man. He's the one that brought him in, and he's the one that's ultimately decided Rob's not the man to take us forward. So my worry is that because things are going so well for them in Italy and the way that it works over there, they necessarily think that works over here. At the start, when they first come in, it was bloody brilliant. Everything that they did, I could sit here and list a number of things that they've done positively for the club, and I could talk about the great things that they've done. But I said the other week, football's evolving, but we're standing still. And the way that the Pozzos operate, we are far behind with the way that that football's operating nowadays. We need a fresh new change. Even if even if we were to get a majority shareholder or stakeholder or investor, a bit like West Ham have done, a bit like Southampton have done, they've kept their owner, but someone's come in with a load of money and said, right, I want X amount of the shares in your club, I'll pump this much money in. Even if we were to do that, but it's getting to the stage now where, and I've never been like this, but it's getting to the stage now where if the Pozzos were to go, I'd be like, listen, you've done some brilliant things for us over the years, but it's just not working. I said it as well the other week as well. I don't know. I'm just lost for words. It's incredible that we can just sack him after. Roy Hodgson had more games in charge of Watford than Rob Edwards did. That should speak volumes within itself.
Yeah,
it's a joke. Yeah. I've got the list of managers and how long they was actually in charge for. Watford's last 12 permanent bosses. Jukanovic had 36 games in charge. Kiko Sanchez-Flores in his first spell, 44 games. Walter Mazzari, 41 games. Marco Silva, 26 games. Javi Gracia, the longest manager that we've had under Pozzo, 66 games. Kiko Sanchez-Flores for his second spell, 12 games. Nigel Pearson, 12 games. Vladimir Ivic, 22. Cisco Munoz, 36. Claudio Ranieri, 14. Roy Hodgson, 18. And then you've got Rob Edwards with 11, which is just... It's just... I just have no words. Pidge, do you think what Gino's is panicked? He's seeing how well Indonesia are doing over in Syria. He's obviously kept Ismail Assar and João Pedro at the club. They haven't brought in that bit of income. Is he thinking Watford need to return to a Premier League this year because he's panicking about money, even though Scott said in that committee meeting saying, no, Watford are all right, nothing to worry about. But is there something deep underneath that we're not being told about money? And that's why he's maybe made this rash decision today.
Well, two things. My close relationship with Luther, now you sort of understand why he hasn't taken the club presidency, honorary life president thing yet. Even though they plastered it all over the rookery, side of the rookery, he hasn't taken it. And he doesn't believe that the GT ethos and things that he embedded into the club, which could still be present now, are not around the club, and that's why he hasn't taken it. That's not a secret. That's an obvious thing that he came out with a statement. That's one thing. The other thing I would say with, like you said, with Javi, and I do think it's a worry for the Pozzos, but all this was they're doing, in the summer when we reached the FA Cup final, we blatantly knew the likes of Mariappa and Cathcart and players like that were getting beyond their time, and we needed to invest in that side. Instead of paying 40 million for Sarr, we should have paid 40 million for centre-backs and brought in at least one or two decent centre-backs. It might have been top championship level, but they should have been top centre-backs. The likes of Aidan Flint and players like that, they should have been brought in. Okay, Craig Dawson had a decent season or two at West Ham, but at the time there was a few question marks. We needed to really invest in that back line to build on what we had, because our forward line was fine. Our midfield was quality in that season. And that's where the problem started when, like you said, we didn't invest after the FA Cup final and we've never recovered from it. And Javi should never have got sacked because we should have backed him properly. The result of that was what we've had since then. And we did have longevity for a season and a half under Javi. And I don't like to dwell in the past, but I think that's where the problems lie. But yeah, in terms of now and the Pozzos worrying, yeah, it is a priority for them to get them promoted, because you look at what they've shifted focus slightly. You look at how great Udinese are doing, and fair play to them. Nothing against Udinese as a club. They're doing really, really well. They totally deserve to be where they are at the moment in Serie A. But you look at how well they're doing and how poorly and how underinvested we're getting. And like Mike said, when they first came, the Abdis and the players like that, absolutely brilliant. The ethos around the club. And Duxbury said no matter who is in charge, everything else stays the same. The coaches, the physios, the tea lady, the lot, everything stays the same. It's just the figurehead that goes. Say, for argument's sake, it was just Rob that went. Everything else, coaches and everything will stay. Problem is that hasn't worked for about 5 years now, because whenever a new coach comes in, I think around the Walter time, they brought in all their own coaches, all their own backroom staff. So the last 3 or 4 years, we've had remnants of different managers. So we haven't got the full backroom staff of, say, Roy Hodgson or Nigel. We've still got 1 or 2 of each of them. So it's not the old system that I actually bought into. I thought, okay, that works. There's not much of a change. You're just changing the top guy. It's not working. That's another thing that that's they've backtracked on as well. So to shorter answer to your question. Yeah, they are terribly worried, and that's why they did a knee-jerk reaction after all the lies they fed us, that then we need to get promoted this season, but minimum next season, because with the debt and the parachute payments, certainly they're going to get itchy trigger fingers every time we have a bad run of games, sadly.
Do you see this ever ending under the Pozzo's mic, them sacking managers?
I would have done if we would have stuck with Rob this season. I genuinely, and it might be more for you, Mike, but I genuinely thought this was the season. I thought, you know what? They've gone with what they said they were going to. They've appointed a young British manager who wants to play attacking football. They've gone down that route of the club, the ethos, and then the first available chance have sacked him. So do I think it will change? Probably not. I mean, the fact that we've only appointed Bilić on an 18-month contract is a little bit worrying. I mean, how long was Rob appointed for? Was he, I want to say 3 years, was it? He got a 3-year contract?
Yeah, 3.
So, yeah, we've only given half of that contract to Slaven Bilić. So does that say that he's more temporary appointed, or a temporary sort of man in the position? I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if they've already lined up who's coming in after Bilić. And that's not me saying they're going to sack him anytime soon. They might do, because they sacked Rob. But I wouldn't be surprised if they've already thought, right, well, Bilić is only here for 18 months if he does that well. So when he goes, we're going to bring in him. So do I think it'll change? Not whilst the Pozzos are in charge. That's clearly the way they operate. It works in Italy. So they obviously think, oh, it's going to work over here. And like I've said time and time again, I think it worked in a sense a few years ago. But that season that we went down in the whole coronavirus season, the 2020 season, that was the season for me where I thought, right, this is getting a bit too much now. Before that, it wasn't a problem. They kept it fresh, and like Pidge said, a lot of it was they just changed a man at the top of the table. They didn't change any of the back room or anything like that. As he said, you know, since the changes have come, you know, they're bringing in their own people. I've no doubt Bilić will bring in his own people as well. And yeah, I don't think it will change, not whilst the Pozzos are still with the club, no.
What's needed between the fan base now, Pidge? Is it time to, obviously we've seen lots of people voicing their opinions today, but is it time to start protesting and like getting the old bed sheets out saying Pozzo's out and all that? Because if I'm honest, I think Stoke's going to be very toxic this weekend in that away end, especially if we go 1-0 down early on. I think that's going to be very toxic, and it's not a great environment for the players to be put underneath. But Watford fans have had enough. Do you think that this is a turning point for Watford fans now?
Yeah, I mean, you look at, I haven't watched many of Ben Foster's podcast, but he's absolutely hit the nail on the head where he says all Watford fans want is stability. That's all we want. We want to see, you know, it's not going to be the 80s. You know, these managers are not going to get 10 years or anything like that, but we just want a bit of stability. And I think the fans, that's all why we're so frustrated. And me, you, us three here are all we're just regular fans that just want to see our club do well. You know, we all love our club. We all do this for the love of the club. And yeah, I'll be very surprised if some people, I mean, not personally, but I will voice if we start struggling against Swansea on the Wednesday, I will start shouting a few things. But look, I'll be there at the start, wanting us to do well, hoping that Slaven, does his best, and backing him 110% like I did with Rob. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there'll be some sort of not protest, but there'll be certainly something online. I don't think there'll be a mass protest outside, but it's getting close. I mean, there's a lot of people on Twitter and everything wanting this to happen. It's where you look at it, because the Pozzos, they're in short, and like Mike says, they have done great things, improvements to the ground and everything like that. There's other things there, but from a management standpoint and from the playing side, it's been really, really poor in the last 5 or 6 years. It really, really has. And like I said, around the COVID season that we had, that's when it's really shown that the system does not work. And yeah, the fans are fed up. We just, like I say, we just want to see 110% commitment on the pitch. A team, regardless if they win or not, is just giving their all 110% on and off the pitch, and just become the family club that we always have been. And you don't see any of that at the moment. The ethos that we've had for years is just not there. And a winning side always brings, the fans together. And the one thing the Pozzos have done today is unite the fans against them. That's the one thing I would say. We've always been divided, like you guys have pointed out in numerous podcasts, that the fans have been divided, especially last season, in fighting and arguing. But we're all divided in one common goal, and that's to see someone's head roll. And me personally, I would like to see Duxbury go and bring someone like Elton to take this on. But perhaps people say I'm living in the past still. But we, get Giraldi out and get someone who knows the leagues, knows what we need. Like Andy Scott was a few years ago. We got rid of Andy Scott. What the hell was that about? We bring him in, a guy who clearly has managed and been around the leagues, knows exactly what type of players that we can go after. And I'd be very surprised if there wasn't some mini protest, say, come Wednesday. But you hope there isn't. But I wouldn't be surprised if there. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't something happening at the Vic.
Yeah, I don't think, like you say, it's going to be a full-on protest at this point. But like say, everyone's rattled now, and the backs are against the wall now. Gino's. I'd say he's probably ruined his reputation here at Watford. Yes, he's done fantastic for both 5, 6, 7 years at the club. First 7 years.
Why do you think Dyche? Sorry to interrupt you. Why do you think Dyche won't come back?
I can't rule it out.
No, he won't come back. He won't come back under the current model. I mean, a lot of people don't want him back, but he won't come back. He's stated under the current owners, I'm not touching this with a barge pole, and I don't blame him. Managers only come here for a payoff.
Yeah, no, I can't see him coming back if the Pozzos were out. He does have an affection with Watford, so I think if there was a different board or owners in charge, it would jump at the chance of coming back to Watford, and I think majority of the fans would probably welcome him back. But the issue here is, yes, there's the debate of Pozzos in and Pozzos out, Mike, but in theory, there's no buyer for Watford Football Club at the moment, so we have to stick with Gino Pozzo. And it might be a while until someone actually comes in and puts up the right amount of money. And as it stands, Watford Football Club aren't for sale. So where do we go from here?
I think everyone's for sale for the right price. If they were to say, right, this is the price that is on the table, if someone really wanted to, then there's someone out there for every club. It's just making sure we don't go down the route of the old Bassini and Graham Simpson days, and that's definitely what we don't want. But yeah, whether the Pozzos are open to maybe selling the club, I don't know. Will this success with Udinese at the moment start to make them think, well, let's put our eggs in that basket and try and get European football back, and that'll be the main sort of revenue stream will come from Udinese. I mean, if they had any wits about them, they'd like they did a few years ago, the money they could make out of the English game is a lot more than the Italian game. So, that's why the Udinese fans didn't like us for a long time, because it was vice versa. we were getting all the good players come to us. We were nicking their best players, and the eggs were firmly in the Watford basket, whereas now it's the shoe's on the other foot. So, I think the Potsos, I firmly believe that Scott and everyone like that sees what goes on social media, whether it's first-hand, whether they know people that are on social media that send it to them. I firmly believe they see it. They will know that what they've done tonight has pissed a lot of Watford fans off. And if they continue to do so, and if Slaven Bilić doesn't work out and they have to sack him, then they should know already because they've dropped a few clangers over the recent years. But I think it might get to a stage where they might sell up. But it's hard to sit here and talk about that because anything could happen. Slaven Bilić could be the man to bring us in, to get us up. He might be the man to keep us up. He might be the first one to get us promoted and keep his job for the whole season. We don't know what's going to happen. A bit like we were on the podcast last week. We didn't know we were going to have to do an emergency podcast a week later talking about the fact that Rob Edwards has been sacked. So, listen, it's so hard to answer that question right now. But I think if someone come along with the right price, then absolutely, they'd be willing to sell 100%. They would. They'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I wasn't really expecting an emergency podcast, and if anything, it's ruined me catching up on Strictly because I've been ill all weekend. So I've not watched it yet, so I've still got it to do tonight. But yeah, we'll move on to Slaven Bilić now, just briefly before we wrap it up. I hope Watford fans don't give him stick or boo him when he gets announced as a new Watford manager because he's done absolutely nothing wrong. He's obviously he's been appointed a job which he didn't get the guy sacked. It was the owners who's got that sacked. So, and I think Watford fans will get behind him, and I hope they do because we're not ones to jump on people's back before they've walked through the door and be like, "Nah, you're not my man, get out." At the end of the day, he's the man in charge of trying to do the best for Watford Football Club, and I think Slaven Bilić is a decent appointment. He's got great championship experience. He's managed to get West Brom promoted whilst they was in the championship during the COVID situation. We know how difficult it was during COVID with no fans in the ground, so he did pretty well there. He's also did very well with West Ham in the Premier League. He's got great experience in the English league. He's done well in Croatia. He's managed in so many numerous leagues as well. So he probably speaks a good few different languages as well, which helps with our squad because we've got so many multi-internationals languages going on at Watford Football Club and the London Colney training ground. But Pidge, what do you make of the whole appointment of Slaven Bilić? Is it the man who you feel who probably might get us a bit further up the table, closer to that promotion places than what Rob Edwards might have done this season?
Well, in terms of experience, yes. I think he's a very good appointment. Like I say, in hindsight now, it should have been done at the start of the season if there obviously wasn't going to give Rob time. And obviously, history proves now that wasn't the case. And I'm confident that Bilić could get us up and around there. He done it with West Brom. He had a decent spell at West Ham. Okay, it fell apart a little bit at the end. But yeah, I'm certainly confident he can do it. He's got the experience there. You mentioned the Bassini thing. I was there around the Pidge era, which wasn't too pleasant either, but I certainly have Pidge over Bassini, put that way. But yeah, Bilić and, taking away the shocking thing that what's happened with Rob and he should never have got sacked and all that. Yeah, Bilić is a very good appointment. But I said that about Hodgson, to be fair, and that turned out to be a complete disaster. But yeah, in terms of Bilić in the Championship, yeah, good solid. If he can bring his own team in, which we know what happens now, then I think you can certainly turn this around and get that. Well, look, we're only a point off the playoffs and we've only lost 2 all season. It's just getting momentum and trying to play us a bit more attacking and trying to keep some goals from going into the back, and then we'll be all right. I still think we'll finish in the top 3 if we can get going and kick on. We've still got he's got to survive January. Get the January transfer window out of the way, get 1 or 2 just to balance the squad out a little bit more, and yeah, I'm confident we can do it. But I'm just counting the days to when we play the Scum. That's definitely the first real acid test for him, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's in terms of Bilić coming in, yeah, it's a very good appointment.
There's no doubt he won't be up for that either, because he seems like a very passionate guy on the sideline. I think he might be our most animated manager I think I've seen. Seeing him come to a Vic managing West Ham before, and he's an animal, ain't he? And a bit like a player back in the day, wasn't he, as well? He was a horrible bastard, tough guy. But like you say, Pidge, it's those little things he needs to change, isn't it? It's like we've picked up 5 draws, for example, in the Championship. It's about turning a few of those into wins, and we wouldn't be talking about Rob Edwards losing his job now. Surely we would have been maybe 4th or 5th or even 3rd in the table with turning those couple of draws into victories. Those extra two points makes a massive difference. Mike, what do you think that Bilić is actually going to bring to Watford team that we really need? Is it to sort out that defence? But then again, the defence hasn't been too bad. It's been maybe not killing off games going forward.
I think it'll bring passion for one. I know that's cliche for me to sit here and say, but as you've rightly pointed out, he's someone that don't take no shit. He's really, tough bugger. You get that aura just watching him, even in the studio. He was in the studios for the Euros, I think it was. And like you just get that aura just watching him and listening to him. And just to point out as well, you've mentioned the clubs that he's been at. Let's not forget he managed Croatia in Euro 2008 tournament. They beat England home and away, knocked us out. We didn't qualify. He got McLaren sacked. He got to the quarterfinals of the Euros that year with 2 of their key players. One of them, their star striker, missing. So it was very much a second string side. They beat Germany that year as well, beat a Poland side. So, his CV's incredible. I know he's maybe had some tough times at those clubs as well, but he's just the person we need. We said time and time again last season that we want to see a Watford team that just give everything, go out on the pitch, and as long as they come off and we know that they've given 100%, we can't be too pissed off with them. Slaven Bilić ain't going to take no crap from him. He's very much going to be, right, we get stuck into these. You talked about the Luton game there, Pidge did, and the last time we played them was in lockdown, so it didn't have that same sort of feel to it. We got the feeling as fans watching it, the away match especially, that the players didn't really understand the importance of it to us fans. Bilić will make sure that they fully understand the assignment going to Kenilworth Road and when the Scum visit Vicarage Road. They will know that we don't leave anything on that. We leave everything on that pitch, sorry. We don't bring anything off with us. So I think he'll bring organisation, which is what we need. And it's going to sound so obvious, but as long as we get the basics right, with that squad we've got, and I've seen a few comments on the side saying that the squad's not good enough. I think it's just from the same bloke, to be honest, but I can't remember. I firmly believe with that squad, there are goals in that team. Keenan Davies will create goals. He'll chip in with a few goals himself. Pedro, we know, can do it in this league. Aspria only needs that first goal in the league, and I think the rest will follow in. He's looked very sort of panicky in the final third. I know he scored for his country in the week, but I firmly believe once he scores his first goal in the league, I think he'll get more. He will create chances as well. Ismail Assar, we know what we can do. He can do in this league. So we've got goals in that squad. So if we get the basics right, and we've got someone that comes in and just is a bit of a drill sergeant in that respect, then who knows what can happen. Like I said, if this was the appointment made at the start of the season, Rob Edwards wasn't even mentioned, I think there'd be a lot of Watford fans that would be happy with that. Now, obviously, there might be some Watford fans watching this or watching this back that might be like, well, no, I'm not speaking for every Watford fan there, but I think a large majority of them would have been happy with Bilić coming in. And as you've said, I'll be backing the boys. Yes, I'm pissed off with the whole situation, but at the end of the day, they're still in my blood, Watford are. I'll never sort of turn my back on the football team and the players itself. So I'll be supporting them come 12 o'clock on Sunday, 100%.
Like us all, I think we'll wrap it up there. we support Watford through thick and thin. Watford are away to Stoke City on Sunday, live on Sky Sports at 12 o'clock. Regardless of what's happened today, we'll be going to Stoke in our numbers, supporting the boys, trying to get 3 points from them and being that 12th man. But Gino Pozzo has really fucked up today. He's really upset Watford fans, and it's starting to get toxic. And we've seen the reaction on all social media today, not just Twitter or Facebook, everything. Watford fans are unhappy, and Watford fans want answers. And I think it's time for Gino Pozzo to talk to Andrew French. Take him up on that invitation that Andrew French just sent in a while ago, and he's still waiting for a reply. So, Gino Pozzo, you need to talk to the fans. This is diabolical how you're running this football club. You're turning our football club into a circus, and it's unacceptable. Yeah, me and Mike will be back next week to discuss the Stoke City game. Pidge, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's great to have you on, mate, and be more than happy to have you back.
Yeah, it's an honour to come on, boys, and fantastic, brilliant podcast, guys, and always watch every week. So, yeah, I'm not just saying that. Thank you very much.
Nice one. Cheers, Pidge. And Mike, cheers for tonight, mate. And we'll be back at the weekend. If you've liked the video, don't forget to like the button. Leave us your comments on what you thought of the video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Stay safe, everyone, and come on, you Warns.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, Saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.